So, good morning.
Morning.
It's pretty. Remember last week when we walked in, there was water on the floor, and felt like a sauna a bit. I feel kind of, after doing this study this week, I feel a little guilty about my complaining about it. It was just really insufferable almost. But this morning it's nice and comfortable, right? Is it too cool? Really nice, isn't it? Well, as we sit here in this comfortable place, and we're free to come and go and do whatever we want to do, right? Get up and you get at it, right? And you keep getting at it. As we sit here, there are 5,233 individuals, maybe a few more by now, locked in Georgia prisons. 5,233. That's just in Georgia, and just on the charge and conviction of murder. That's a lot of people. 5,000 in 50 states. You got a lot of folks. You got a lot of folks sitting in prisons. 5,233 of them, less than 300 are women, so guess who the offenders are? 5,000 of us men, we haven't done it necessarily, but 5,000 of us men have taken at least one life. And I got to thinking about that. That's 5,000 people, at least 5,000, because some of them could be multiple murders, 5,000 people who are no longer breathing. They're just not here. They're gone. And maybe more than 5,000 families that are torn apart, in some cases leaving kids with no mom or dad. And here's something else that struck me as I looked at this short commandment, you shall not murder. Every bit of the loss of life and the loss of freedom that those people have, and all the resulting suffering, because it has a ripple effect, obviously, all of that could have been avoided had those men and women, those 5,233, just governed themselves according to this one simple phrase. That's all it would have taken. What a huge difference in the lives of over 5,000 people. Exodus 20:13 says very succinctly, very terse, you shall not murder. Okay, Tom.
You want the message version?
Sure.
2 words, no murder.
There you go. There you go. No murder, period. More succinct. Either case, it's tempting to, at least it was for me, and I'm guessing it is for you, to say, well, good, I ain't killed anybody, let's go to the next commandment, right? I'm off the hook. This one's easy. Well, in terms of the literal application of it, the fact that we're here, not sitting in one of those prison cells, is evidence that it's relatively easy not to kill somebody, literally, or we would have done it. A lot of those people that are sitting in those prisons, I don't know what the numbers are, but a lot of them have committed what's sometimes called a crime of passion. They didn't sit down and say one day, I'm going to kill these 3 people or this person. It was a crime of passion. You can kind of hear them maybe in the courtroom. They're talking to the judge and they say, Judge, you just don't know that wife of mine. You got to know her. She drives me nuts. One day she crossed a line and I lost it. I didn't plan to kill her. It just happened. It was a crime of passion. Unfortunately for the wife, it really is irrelevant as to whether he was passionate or he plotted it. She's still dead. You can't take it back. But again, we haven't killed anybody, so it's understandable to think that we're clear on that, that we're not skate, we're just okay. We haven't killed anybody. Well, not surprisingly, we should not assume superiority too quickly. I want us to drill down a little bit, and to help us do that, listen to what Jesus said. Remember, he said, I didn't come to eliminate the law or do away with it. He said, I came to fulfill it. There's no incompatibility between him and the Jewish law. So he's commenting on a parable. He's told a parable. And here's what he says. You have heard, he's telling parables. He says, you have heard that it was said long ago, talking about the giving of the law, do not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you, he says, anyone who is angry with his brother, talking about either literally your brother or figuratively, anyone who is angry with his brother will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to his brother, raka, which is a Aramaic word that basically means you're not worth much, is answerable to the Sanhedrin, which meant it was a matter of law. It was a legal issue then. But he adds to it, anybody who says you fool, and I haven't been able to find a really thorough study of exactly why he's saying this, but he's saying don't do it. Anyone who says you fool will be in danger of the fire of hell. It's pretty strong words. And he's not kidding. He didn't make jokes out of it, right? So we could take this pretty literally. Jesus, in this one passage, ranks, and I'm going to use the word unresolved, he ranks unresolved anger with a brother, again, literally or amongst us, whatever, right up there with actual murder. He's saying essentially the inference is there's not much difference. Why would that be? Why would it be the same? I mean, nobody dies. If I get angry at somebody, nobody dies. Well, the Apostle Peter, Jesus is going to give us the answer in what he says to the Apostle Peter, who in this setting, Jesus is told a parable, and Peter says, how about explaining that to us? And Jesus responds, and wouldn't you like to get this response? He says, are you still so dull? Don't you get it, Peter? And the answer is no, of course. Don't you see, and again, the parable is about eating and being clean and all of that. He says, don't you see that whatever enters the mouth goes into the stomach and then out of the body? But the things that come out of the mouth come from the heart. And these things make a man unclean. And he says, for out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, and I'm going to stop there. He lists some other things, but I'm going to stop because our subject is murder. He says, these are what make a man unclean. Eating with unwashed hands does not make him unclean. Here's the thing. Here's why I'm bringing that up. The commandment, you shall not murder, deals with the external. We got to remember where these people are when they got that law. We're going back to the Exodus version of it. Where were they? How long had they been out of captivity? About 3 months, from what we can get from the scholars. For 400 years or so, the people that the law was given to knew nothing, no order except the Egyptian law and their own bondage. That was their social order. That's all they knew. This commandment, you shall not murder, deals with the external. It sets up a new part of the new social order. Yes, does it deal with sin? Sure. But practically, it creates part of their new order. That's what he's doing. It deals with the external. They need a new order to replace the one they lost when they got their freedom. And this commandment's part of that. But it's more than a prohibition. Remember, commandments are stated in the negative. You shall not. It's more than a prohibition. And here's what I mean by that. It's a positive opposite. You got to think here about this. It's early. It's a positive opposite. The prohibition against murder, you shall not murder, is really a positive statement about life. Yes, it provides a new social order, but it gets to the heart of the matter because it's affirming the value of life. Because if it's not valuable, who cares? Kill anybody you want. You got to think about this. The negative says, oh, I don't do that, so I'm okay. But it goes beyond the prohibition. It goes into the affirmation of the value of life, period. And why would it be that valuable? Because of the source. You go back to the Genesis account. What does it say that God did to Adam? He breathed life into him, right? So life is coming from God himself, therefore it has value. So the prohibition is also a positive opposite. It's saying, God's saying to him in effect, I breathed life into you. It came from me. I'm good. My life is good. Therefore, I want you to always affirm that life. It's more than a prohibition. Implicit in the prohibition against murder is the positive truth that God is the source of life and it's meant to be honored and protected. It's more than just don't kill. And stay with me. You're still saying, well, what does this have to do with me? We'll get there. But Jesus takes it beyond just social order and a prohibition. And he digs down inside the man, inside of us. He wants to by his words and that in his comments, we know he wants to see order in the heart as well as in our behavior. Somebody had a prayer that that what we hear would change our thinking and our behavior, right? That was earlier. If you weren't here, it would change our thinking and our behavior. This is what Jesus is getting at. Don't worry about the external. Take care of the internal. That's what he's saying. Let me ask you something. This will be an honesty test here. You don't have to hold your hand up, but just be honest with yourself. Have you ever been so angry with somebody that I won't say you wanted to kill them. Maybe you did. But you certainly wouldn't have minded doing a little physical harm to them? Doc, Doc and I we're the culprits. Hope you don't mind my including you in that. Yeah, he gave himself away with a smile there. Yeah, have you? Yeah. Anybody else ever felt that angry? Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Thank you. I'm not alone. Thought I was going to be the only one up here standing saying true confessions.